Hello learners, welcome to Constant Learners. In this video, we are starting the series on database and database management system. We've already discussed so much with respect to data, big data, analysis of data. But from this series, we are starting with DBMS, wherein we will discuss all the topics included in the syllabus of university examination for subject database management system, and it will also help the students who are preparing for entrance examinations, that is competitive examinations, or for the interviews, because we are going to try and cover almost everything related to DBMS. Okay, so let's get started. Today's video is the introduction to database management system and to database. This is going to be a very basic explanation of what database management system is. In the next video, we will discuss how exactly databases are created and what is the role of DBMS in creating the databases. Now let's get started. Database management system has two parts. First is the database, and then we have the management system. Now, all of this entire syllabus is based on one important aspect, that is data, right? All of this we are doing for data, right? So, data is the most important aspect of this entire subject. So, let's see what exactly does data mean. Now, data means raw, unprocessed facts. Okay, so data is raw, unprocessed facts, and these facts could include everything, that is text, then we could have numbers, we can have statistics, then we can have media, that is images or videos, etc. All right, almost everything around us is either itself data or it is generating data. All right, now these raw unprocessed facts, when these are processed, that is, when data is processed, it generates information. Okay, so when the data is processed, we get information. All right, I hope that data has been understood. Now, what is a database? Database is a collection of data. Okay, so database is the collection of data. However, what kind of data? This data has to be related. Okay, the data has to be related. That means we cannot have any random data in the database. That is, add a little about the weather, let's say, then a little about the recipes, a little about something else. We cannot have data like this. We need related data. The data has to be related. It needs to make some sense. Let's take an example. Let's say I have 25 ram m, then let's say coffee, and let's say hot. So all of these values are nothing but data. But is it making any sense to us? Not yet, right? But let's say I have the name Ram, who is 25 years of age. Then he is a male, M. He likes to drink coffee and he likes his coffee hot. Okay, so now this data is making some sense to us, right? We can add data about someone else also. Let's say Sham. Okay, Sham is 31. He is also a male, but he likes to drink tea and he likes his tea hot. All right, so now this data can be said that it is related to one another because it is making some sense to us. Okay, so databases can store the data that is related to one another. Now another aspect of data in the databases is that this data is supposed to be about real world entities. What are real world entities? That means the data cannot be abstract. The data needs to be about the real world entities that are physically present in the world. All right? It cannot be, we cannot store data about abstract things like emotions or feelings in the database. No, it has to be real world entities. All right. I hope that now database is also clear to us. Next, it brings us to management system, database management system. Now, what is a management system? Everywhere, whether it's a home, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a school, college, everything, every place, every person needs a management system, right? To be able to function smoothly. All right. So, similarly, to be able to store the data in the database smoothly, to create the databases smoothly, we need a management system. All right. And this management system is known as database management system. So, database management system is a system that is used to manage both the data as well as the databases. Okay? It's not just for data, it's not just for databases, it is required to manage both the data and the databases. But what exactly is a database management system? A database management system is a set of programs. Okay, it is a set of programs that helps us to manage the data and the databases. But what exactly do we need the database management system for? We need the database management system, as we said, to manage the data in the databases, but it also provides us with a set of tools, or we can say an interface, okay, to store, manage the data and the databases. All right. So database management system is a set of programs that provide us with tools or interfaces to manage the data as well as the database. All right. I hope that all three of these was clear. Data is raw and processed facts. Database is a collection of data, or we can say the database is the house that stores the data. Okay. It's a house for the data. All right. And database management system is a set of programs that provides us with tools or interface so that we can manage the data and the database. Now, what exactly comes under the management of data in the database, that we will discuss in the later part of the video. First, let's understand all the other basic concepts to be able to understand DBMS properly. I hope that this much was clear. Okay. Now, let's take a very simple example. Like, let's say in our kitchen, we have a cabinet, right? Or we can say a cupboard. Now, inside the cupboard, we have a lot of shelves, right? And in these shelves, we store our things. Let's say boxes of stuffs like pasta or lentils or spices and all of that, right? So, these spices or lentils or pasta, this is nothing but the data. These cabinets are the tables or the spaces in which the data is being stored, and this cupboard is nothing but the database. Okay, this you will understand well in the later part of the video. Okay, now let's quickly discuss the definitions of data, database and database management system. Now data is nothing but facts and statistics that is stored over the network. That means this data is not required to be stored at a physical location. It can be stored anywhere and we can access this data from anywhere. Okay, and this data is nothing but raw and unprocessed facts. Okay, then database is the collection of related data. Okay, this related word is very important because database can only store related data. Okay, and it is organized in a way that data can be easily accessed, managed and updated. So data is organized in such a way in the database, we can access the data easily, we can read the data easily, we can manipulate the data easily, and we can also delete it if and when required. Okay. Then database management system is a software, that is a set of programs, as we said. It's a software that provides us with an interface or a tool that allows creation, definition, and manipulation of database, allowing the users to store, process, and analyze the data easily. So this is exactly what database management system does. All right. I hope that this was clear. Now, before we get into the details about what databases are, or how they are created, or how the data is stored in the database, or what is the purpose of using the database management system, let's first understand the types of data. All right. Now we are going step by step towards database management system. First, we need to understand all the basic concepts related to data as well as the databases, and then we will finally discuss database management system in detail. Okay, so that was all about data, the basic concept of data, database management system, and the definitions. All right, now let's get to the types of data. Now let's get to the types of data. All right. There are three types of data: structured, then unstructured, and semi structured data. I already have a detailed video on types of data. It has explained everything very clearly in detail. That is why in this video I'm going to give a very short explanation on what is structured, unstructured, and semi structured data. But if you wish to get into details in depth about the types of data, I will link that video above, and I'll also share the link in the description box below. You can watch that video after completing this video. That video will clear all your concepts about types of data, and it will also give you some notes if you're preparing for the examination. All right. Now, structured data is the data that has a proper particular format. Proper particular format means what? That data is properly structured. It's not randomly available, right? We can identify different parts of the data very well, and also this data is related, right? That is the most important aspect of data to be stored in the databases, right? So the structured data has a proper particular format and it is related. The data is related to one another. That's, the data is not about any random topics or things. All right. Now we will discuss structured data in far more detail, because this entire syllabus of database management system is mostly about structured data. So we need to understand that very well. But before that, let's discuss what is unstructured and semi-structured data. Unstructured data, as the name says, is unstructured. That is, it has no proper structure or format. That is, the data can be available in any format. It can be text, it can be numbers, it can be videos, it can be images, right? So it does not have a proper particular format. We know that this kind of data is very difficult to store and analyze. We've already discussed this in the previous videos. So these kind of data, that is unstructured data, is very complicated to analyze and extract some useful information from it. But in today's world, the data that we are generating the most is unstructured data. All right. So it is also a very important concept with respect to what is happening in the current scenario. But database management system is mostly about structured data. So we are going to get into details about structured data only. Now, semi-structured data means, of course, a combination of both. What both? Structured and unstructured data. So semi-structured data is a combination of both structured and unstructured data. It is partly structured, partly unstructured. This also I've explained in the video very well. If you wish to get into the details, you can watch that video. But in short, I'll just give you an example of semi structured data. Emails, we all have sent emails, right? What happens in an email? At the top we have the column for the recipient's email id, that is 2, right? Then we have the cc or bcc, right? We can add the other recipients emails as well. Then we have then we have the column for subject, and then we have the final content of the email, right? So this structure here is actually structured data. All right. However, this content inside the email is unstructured data, because we can have anything inside this content. We can have text, numbers, we can add files, we can add images, we can add videos, right? So this portion of the email is unstructured data, and that is why we say that emails are semi structured data. It's an example of semi structured data. All right. I hope that unstructured and semi structured data was clear. Now let's understand what exactly is structured data. Now, structured data is structured, of course, that is, it is highly organized. Okay, highly organized, and it is stored in a proper predefined format. Okay, predefined format, that is, we cannot just store the data the way we want. It has to be in a predefined format. That is, if we are storing the data in a table, then we need to define that this is going to be the name, then age, then phone number, then let's say some kind of id. Okay, and then finally, let's say the course that the person is enrolled in, right? So this data, that is structured data, is highly organized, and it requires a proper predefined format. Okay, so here the name has to go in this column only, the age has to go in this column only. It cannot be interchanged with one another. All right. Now, since structured data is highly structured in a proper format, it can fit into a data model. This is a very important aspect of data, that is data model. I have a video on data models also, why we require a data model, that was also explained in that video. I will link that video above. But for now, you have to remember that structured data, since it is highly organized in a predefined format, it can be stored in the data models. All right, that is, structured data is stored in tabular format. Tabular format means what? Tabular, that means in tables. Okay, so structured data is stored in tables, and these tables are known as relations. Okay, what do we call these tables? These are called as relations. Okay, this is also a very important aspect of structured data, that structured data is stored in tables, that is known as relations. All right. Why are these called relations? Because we know that structured data is related to one another, and it is stored in the tabular format. Okay, that is why it is known as relations. All right. So all of these are very important points. Structured data is highly organized in a predefined format. It can fit into a model. So structured data is stored in the tables, and these tables are known as relations. All right. Now let's take a very simple example to see how structured data is stored in the relations, that is in the tables. Okay. So let's say this is the table about the hospital staff, that is the doctors. This is the table about the doctors. So here we can say we have the doctor's ID, then we have the doctor's name, and we have his specialization. Let's say the ID of the first doctor is 1001. Her name is Sia, and her specialization is. Then next is 1002. The doctor's name is Suresh, and he is a neurologist. Then let's say third doctor is, his ID is 1003. In this, you can see that the data is related to one another, right? This column only has the doctor's ID. This column only has the name of the doctor. This column only has their specialization, all right? And if we look at the row has complete data about one single person. This row has complete data about one single person. This row has complete data about one single person, right? So, and this complete table is about the doctors of a particular hospital, right? So, in every way, this data is related to one another, right? If we talk about this cell, right? This cell has the name for the doctor whose ID is 1001. So, in every way, from every aspect, the data in every cell. Now, this single structure here is known as a cell, right? This is a column, this is a row, and this single box here is the cell, and this entire table is the relation. All right, so relation, then we have the row, then we have the column, and then we have the cell. These are the different parts of this entire table. All right, so every cell is related to one another, every column is related to one another, every row is related to one another. That is, this entire table, the data in this entire table is related to one another. And also it is about a real world entity, right? The doctor is a real world entity. So it is about real world entity. All right. So this is what structured data is. I hope this is clear now. I hope you have understood what is a structured data, how it is stored in a proper format, how it is related to one another, and how it is stored in the relations. All right. We know that we have data. All right, and this data is stored inside the database. Okay, the data is stored inside the database. Now both the data as well as the database is managed by database management system. All right, but now when we talk about structured data, what happens? We have structured data. Where is the structured data stored? It is stored in the relations. Okay, that is the tables. Relations are nothing but the tables, and these relations are then stored inside the database, right? These tables are then stored inside the database. Okay, but since the structured data is stored inside the relations, this database is known as relational database. Okay, so this is structured data which is stored inside the relations, and that is why this database is known as relational database. So these relational databases are managed by a different kind of database management system known as Relational Database Management System, RDBMS. Okay, so structured data is stored in the tables, that is relations, and these relations are stored inside the relational databases. And the data as well as the relational databases are managed by relational database management systems. I hope that this was clear. Now let's head to what exactly is database management system. We've already discussed that database management system is a set of programs, or we can say it is a software, all right, that provides us with tools and interface to be able to manage the data and the database. All right, now what exactly does management of data and databases mean? What are we talking about when we are saying that we are managing the data and the database, right? So we know that database is a house. This is the database. So database is a house. Inside the database we have tables or relations. All right, and these tables store the data. Correct. That means the data is not randomly available inside the database. We are not just dumping it inside the database, we are storing it in a proper format, right? These relations have columns, and every column is specified, like whether it's going to have a name or age or gender. So name is going to have the text, age is going to have a number, gender is going to be again text. So every column is properly specified in the tables, right? So the data in the database is not just randomly available, it is properly stored. All right. So the task of database management system is to create the database. All right. So to create the house, the job of database management system is to create the database. Then the next task is to create the tables. All right, then we might need to change the tables, or let's say manipulate the tables as per the requirement. Then let's say the need has changed and we do not need a table, so we can also delete the tables. Correct. Now creating the tables, manipulating the tables means we are creating the columns inside the table, we are deciding the attributes for the columns inside the table. All of this we will discuss later on, okay, in the later videos. Then next is to store the data into the database. Correct. Or to read the data from the database, or to update the data into the database. Now, all the data is not going to be updated then and there. Like if I'm creating a table right now and storing the data, so I'm not going to fill in all the rows right now, right? I might need to store some data later on as well. So that is known as updating the data in the database, or changing the data. For example, I have a table for students. Now, let's say one student has changed his field from IT to computer science. So I can also change the field from IT to computer science inside the table. So that is also known as updating the data in the database, and also deleting the data from the database. Okay, so all of these tasks and a lot more is performed by database management system. So all of these tasks come under the management of the data and the databases, that is done with the help of database management system. All right. I hope that this was clear. Like, what are the tasks performed by database management system? So the database management system provides us with an interface. Okay. And on that interface, we write some queries. Okay. We write some queries in a particular programming language, which is SQL, that is structured query language. So we write queries in structured query language on the interface provided by database management system and perform all of these tasks and a lot more. All right. I hope that this much was clear. Now, some popular database management systems used these days are MySQL, then there's Oracle, then there's PostgreSQL, SQL Server, Amazon SimpleDB, IBM DB2. All of these DBMSs use structured query language to query the databases. In the next video, we will see how exactly the databases are created, how the data is stored inside the database. We're not going to learn the queries or anything, but just very basic concepts of how exactly these processes take place and how the user stores the data in the database, because the user does not know structured query language, right? So how the user uses the database management system, or what softwares the user uses to query the database, whether it's storing the data or accessing the data from the database, how the user does that without knowing the queries, that we will discuss in the next video. And we will also discuss the components of database management system. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with as many people as you can, subscribe to the channel. If you have any doubts or queries, please mention them in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching.